So I forgot everything what I was going to say this morning, just because of those wonderful videos. Thank you so much to the Now Marketing team for inviting me back for a second time on this stage. I am very excited to be here, but before we start, I want to have you all give yourself a round of applause. Go ahead. You were an amazing audience yesterday. I watched all of you. You were learning, you were talking, you were having conversations, and you were co-creating together. So I just wanted to acknowledge that for all of you. So, let's get started right here. Agile marketing. What is agile marketing? I only have 30 minutes, so I'm going to go talk really fast. But what I want to leave you with at the end is that there is a better way to do marketing. So hopefully I inspire you today. So, there we go. So I want to play a little game, and I asked my friend Christine, who is an incredible content creator, to come up here. I have buckets of content, and Christine, I'm going to be your manager. And I would like you to create something for me and bring it to me so I can give it to a client. And would you create a rock for me today? Awesome. You know, Christine, look at this rock. This is awesome. Would you be able to do some edits? I think when I talked to the clients last week or last month, mentioned something about like a pie-shaped format. Would you be able to, here, let me give this back to you. See if we get another one. Another edit. Here you go. Oh, this is awesome. Let me look at it. Would you, Christine, you're not too busy, right? Would you mind editing this one and getting me like a white one? I think the color's wrong. Oh, that was quick. Man, you're a quick editor. This client likes big things. Really big things. Can you make it bigger? Bigger, a lot bigger. Can you do that? All right, thanks. All right. How do you feel about this, Christine?
It's on free.
I think if we do one more edit, you're going to have the right one. One more edit. Come on. I really appreciate you. All right. Well, Christine, I think we got it. Yeah. Thanks. Awesome. Thank you. What just happened here, guys? What just happened? Did you watch her body language? This is what happens when a manager is not clear what they want and is not succinct in the ask. It's called playing the rock game. If your organization or somebody in your organization plays this hand me a rock game, you either play it with your client, or you play it with your teammates, or you play it with your manager. There's a better way. I'm here to tell you agile marketing. Agile methodology can be applied. So this slide actually belongs at the end of my presentation, but I'm going to put it out here. Mark actually set me up yesterday perfectly for this slide. If you were in here yesterday morning when he was talking about how he works with his students and how they work on prototypes and iterations, I talked to Mark afterwards, and I said, "You're doing Agile with your students, right?" And he's like, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I'm doing Agile in marketing." And he said, "Wait, can that be applied to marketing?" Well, yes, it can. Agile team members report that they have more confidence, they feel psychologically safe, they work to their potential, they learn together, and they continue to grow their skills. I'm going to come back to the slide at the end, and I'm hoping that you can see why. So Agile is not a tool. It's not about the tools. It's a mindset. So I want you all to get your phone ready, because the next slide you're going to want to take a picture of. We're going to talk about Agile mindset. So get your phones ready. So an Agile mindset consists of 4 things. The first one is you have to be willing and able to make relentless improvements kind of like Mark was doing with his students. Never be satisfied. Always improve your processes, how you do things, how you work with your client, how you work with your customers, how you work with your teammates. Second one, exploring and discovering new things, especially in social media, right? Right? New things happen all the time. New features, right? New platforms, new ideas come out here. So you want to be able to have that curiosity. Then you have an agile mindset. Third one is collaborating with clients and team members. Not just collaborate with team members and not just collaborate with clients, but all of that together. That's an agile mindset. And the fourth one is really hard. And this is where upper management usually goes, nah, I don't think so. You have to be willing to fail early and learn from it, because failure is simply an early attempt at success, right? If you put something out there and you test it and it fails, you know the next time you're not going to do that same action, but you're going to make it better. So what is Agile? This is kind of the slide that kind of explains it all. In 2001, a group of software engineers got together and wrote the Agile Manifesto. It's available on agilemanifesto.org. Anybody can see it. It's a document translated in about 60-something languages, and it is pretty short. It has 4 values and 12 principles. And it talks about software development, how they can get from an idea to a minimal viable product, which is the minimal amount of work they can do to put out a product to market to get feedback, which again, what Mark is doing with his students, right? So the Agile Manifesto, 4 values, 12 principles. Out of that are an infinite amount of practices. So today, I can't go over all of those. So today I'm going to share with you the 4 values, because I think they're important, and the 4 practices that have changed my business. 4 practices. Guess how many hours a week I found? Anybody guess? I started doing Agile, and all of a sudden I had more time in my week. Want to put a number out? Guess. 10, 8, 12. A day and a half. Once I started implementing Agile practices, and I'm a team of 1 and I have an assistant who lives in the south of France. But once I started doing the Agile practices that I'm going to share with you, I found 12 hours a week. You want to find time? This is it, guys. So we're going to start with those values and practices. The next slide is another one you want to take a picture of, so get your phone ready. Here are the 4 Agile values, as written in the Agile Manifesto. Now, the 17 signees of this Agile Manifesto said, we value everything that's on the right, but we value everything on the left more. So, individuals and interactions over processes and tools. What does that mean? Teamwork, collaboration, right? Co-creating together is more important than the processes and tools we use. People, teamwork, collaboration. Number 2, working software is more important than comprehensive documentation. What does that mean? We don't have working software, right? So for us, it would be published content for marketers, right? Remember, this is language around software development. So if you want to put it to marketing, is published content is more important than that comprehensive document. How are we going to do this? How are we going to put this out? Just publish something, get feedback, right? And then make it better. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. I'm the first one to say, try to stay within scope of work. But if you only talk about the scope of work, and if you are, well, this client already had his 30 minutes this week, but you need that client input for a 5-minute meeting for them to look at a flyer or a blog post, right? You need to say it's more important to have that client collaboration than that scope of work this week. It's important to pull them in. And then responding to change is more important than following a plan. Now, this is a tough one for me. I'm a social media strategist. I create the plans for my clients, right? So then when I tell them, but we might have to change the plan, they're not always happy. But why do you want to do that? Well, think about all the world events that are happening, right? We just are in the 100-something day of the war in Ukraine. We had 3 shootings happen in the US. Those are events that you cannot ignore when you have a social media plan, when you have a marketing plan. Your content needs to address some of those things. Either pull back on what you write, or you need to talk about some of those things, or you might need to share resources, which has happened. One of my nonprofits is a nonprofit that helps parents who take care of abused children, foster parents. And they wanted to put out a piece of content on how to talk to children about school shootings. I'm getting chills just talking about this, guys. So they told me that morning, we need to put this content out. We have a 2-week process of post-approval. That wasn't going to work that day. So I got on the phone with somebody. She said, we happen to have a board meeting today. You and I write up the content. I will present it to the board. I will get everybody to read it in the board meeting. You will get approval, hopefully. And by 4 o'clock that afternoon, I had approval. I was able to put that resource out. That's what that Agile value means, responding to change versus following a plan. So when you onboard somebody in your marketing agency, you're working with somebody. Usually this is a traditional marketing flow, right? Christine, you want to work for me? Christine, where are you? I don't see you anymore. Christine, you want to work for me? I got a job for you. Let's talk about the tools, the practices. Then we're going to go into our marketing values. It's really important to engage. Maybe you've worked a couple of weeks with us and you find out there's a company value. We're going to do a community event. And then eventually, maybe as a marketing, if you're on a big marketing team, you find out about the mindset of the CEO, the C-suite, the stakeholders, right? In Agile marketing, it's the other way around. Everybody that comes on board on either my team or an Agile team learns about these values and these principles first. You need to tell somebody that comes on your team, it's okay to fail, right? It's okay to try new things. Those 4 values that we just went over. So it's a different flow. It starts with the mindset, then it goes to the company values, the marketing values. And once that person knows and understands what it is like to be Agile and to do Agile, then you talk about processes and tools. So the other thing I want to just mention is agility across the board is really important. It usually starts at the top down, right? If you are a marketing team of 1, it's pretty easy to become Agile. It took me a while, but you can get those principles. If you have a larger team or you have a sales team and a revenue team and your HR department, Agile now is everywhere. Agile is in HR, Agile is in C-suite, Agile is in marketing. The other cool thing of it is there's a TED Talk out there. Anybody here a parent? Raise your hand if you're a parent. There's a TED Talk out there, how to do Agile with your kids. I wish I'd known it when my kids were little. My kids are now like young adults. Oh my gosh, I did try it out on Thanksgiving dinner last year. I had all the tasks that needed to be done before the dinner, during the dinner, and after the dinner. I put sticky notes on my kitchen cabinets. And every time somebody came in the kitchen, can I help? I go, take a sticky note, do that one task, and then put it in the done. And so every time somebody came in, and so they chose what they wanted to do, and then everything got done, and they felt part of the team. We co-created that dinner together. It was really good. And then at the end, I was like, there's a bunch of sticky notes left. I think it's all about cleaning up. You guys take care of it. And they did. But you can use Agile in other places of your life. There's another person I know that uses Agile methodology to plan all her trips, right? She's got a Trello board, and she uses that to pack and to plan all her things. So for Agile practices, I'm going to go over these pretty quick because there's, again, an infinite amount of practices. But these are the 4 that I gained 12 hours back. The first one is a sprint. The difference between a deadline and a sprint is a sprint is a time-boxed amount of time. When you say a deadline and say, in 3 weeks, I have to have this done, that doesn't mean you're going to start on it today, right? You just know it's done in 3 weeks. When you do a sprint, you say, I'm going to start this task today, and it ends on Friday, or it ends next Friday. Usually a sprint is a week or 2 weeks. So that's time boxing the most important things you want to get done. Number 2 is a daily stand-up. Now, I'm alone in my office, rural Vermont. I've got my dogs with me. I do a daily stand-up. I've got a standing desk, but I also did it sitting down. I ask myself 3 questions. I'm really honest with myself. What did I do yesterday? What am I doing today? And where am I stuck? And that where am I stuck question becomes really important when you work as a team. Think about the three of you here in the front together. If all of you every day would take 5 minutes to say, this is what I did yesterday, this is what I'm doing today, and here's I'm stuck. If you said, I'm stuck on, I'm not sure, I can't reach a client, your friend could say, well, I have the client's cell number, I can call them, right? So you can collaborate. When you have that meeting every day within that sprint, you can collaborate because we're not working in silos anymore. We're co-creating as a team on those important things we want to get done. A retrospective is another really important part of Agile methodology. That means at the end of the sprint, we don't just say, oh, this was great and this was not great. We come up with actions that next time we do the same task can improve it. So instead of saying, this was a great event at Lima, Ohio, I am sure this team, this now marketing team is Agile. They call it relationship marketing. They're doing Agile, guys. I'm sure at the end, they're going to get together, and Jessica and her team are not just going to say, this was great, this needs improvement. They're going to write down how to improve it next time, because next year they won't remember. So you go write down your actions. So the retrospective becomes really important. Then the fourth one is a backlog. When a client asks me to do something, a task, it goes in the backlog. When my sprint is done, usually I do shorter sprints because I'm by myself. When my sprint is done, I'll go to my backlog and I look at all the tasks that need to get done and I pick 3. And those go in my next sprint. 3. That's all I can do in one day or in 2 days or 3 days. So we're not distracted by other things. It's still there, so that backlog serves as a like a feeder to my sprints. So those 4 practices are really what changed. Remember, infinite amount. You might have heard Scrum, Kanban, Lean, Scrumban. People use different frameworks for Agile, but it's really the practices that help you be Agile, not just do Agile. So how does a team become Agile? 3 ways, right? Understanding those 4 values and 12 principles, willingness to implement those new practices, and then the openness to adapting current workflows. So you ready to co-create? Yes. I want to make sure you're awake. You ready to co-create? Yes. Let's do it. Okay. So here we go. Meet Harper. Harper lives in Lima, Ohio. She's got a new job, and she's got a 6.5-mile commute to go to work. Now, she's asked me, to ask you to help us create a way for her to get from home to work and back. We need to build something using Agile values, practices, all of those things. So I'm going to ask you, most of you have a piece of paper in front of you. If you don't, open your phone and get the Notes app out. I'm going to ask you to write down 5 letters. So get your pen ready. Okay, so here are the 5 components. Here are 9 components. I want you to pick 5 in whatever order you think we can build something for Harper to get from her home to work and back. I'm going to give you 10 seconds. Write down the sequence that you would build something for Harper using Agile methodology. If you're done, raise your hand if you got your sequence. You're still working. This is not hard, guys. Let's build something for Harper. You got it? What order would you do it? 5 things. She happens to live on a hill. So she goes down the hill. She reports back to me and said, the skateboard was awesome. I got to work really, really fast. However, I had to walk up the hill and carry that darn skateboard. I didn't like it very much. I got feedback. Minimal viable product. Remember, the least amount of work you can put in to get something out, to get feedback on the product, which is what Mark is doing with his VR stuff. So then I'm like, okay, so that didn't really work. How about we build you a scooter? So second iteration is a scooter. We build her a scooter. Harper reports back and said, well, it was a little bit easier. I can lean on the steering thing. Went a little faster, but I still have to walk up that hill 6.5 miles. Didn't really like it. So I'm like, okay, I know. Third iteration, we build Harper a bicycle. Now remember, she's getting to work. She's not waiting for that car to be built. She's not waiting. We're getting feedback, and Harper gets to work every day. So next, we build her a bicycle. She loves it until it rained 5 days in a row. And she's like, yeah, that wasn't very good. And she still was having trouble getting up the hill. She gets a motorcycle. She's like, motorcycle, I love it. I think this might be it. until the gas prices go up. And she's like, I don't know about that. And then it starts winter, and then there's snow, and she's like, yeah, all right, I need another iteration. Then we build her the car. All along the way, Harper, the client, gets to go from home to work and back. A minimal viable product. What can we give her to get her started? That's agile. Now, I know that this is abstract with building a car, so let's put it into video. Traditionally, I'm going to pick on Christine. Christine, there is an opening, grand opening at the Ford dealership in Lima, Ohio. Would you go take some video? So Christine goes and takes a bunch of video. She comes back to the team, and the first iteration is she shows us the video she's taken. So the team gets together and like, all right, that's awesome. Let's put it on YouTube. So we're going to do some edits, add some B-roll, right? So that's what we do, second iteration. She comes back, shows us the video, and somebody goes, wow, we should have done captions too. So we're adding captions, we're adding a cool song. Fourth iteration, we publish it to YouTube, and we say, what else can we do with this video footage? Anybody been in that team? It's okay if you don't want to raise your hand, but think about it. Yeah, you've been in that team, right? All right. This is how we do video when you're agile. First of all, the directive is going to be a little different. It's going to be like take every kind of video you can. Long video, short video, vertical video, horizontal video. But remember, agile team members are not afraid to fail. So the first iteration is, while Christine is at the Ford dealership at the opening, which is a 3-day event, she's going to start sharing stories and reels, go on TikTok and Instagram, and get feedback. People in Lima are going, oh my gosh, I didn't know there was an opening for Ford. That's awesome. I got to go buy a car. She gets instant feedback on her videos. Second iteration is, she's got this wonderful video, but we want to get it out on LinkedIn and Facebook because that's where most of our audience is. Do minor edits, boom. Post it to LinkedIn and Facebook, tag everybody. Now we're at 2 iterations. We already had 2 types of content out. Third iteration is we're going to add bumpers and logos. We've done an opening before, so we knew that we had to have the bumpers. We knew we had to have the logo. We had everything ready to go get that YouTube video out because we've done this before. Fourth iteration is the team comes back together and says, you know, the stories did really well. Let's repurpose on TikTok, and we're going to hashtag this and that, and you repurpose the best content. Think about the other one that we did. Traditionally, get 1 video out, 4 iterations, team gets together, and you have 1 video on YouTube, versus Agile. You get all these pieces of content out. You have a happy customer. So I saw this quote on Sunday, and I thought it was highly appropriate after I asked you to build a car. If you would have asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. They never would have said they wanted an automobile, right? So this is perfect for Agile. And he was an inventor. This is another slide you want to take a picture of. 7 benefits to Agile. 7. The first one is productivity. You are working together as a team. You're never going to be stuck again if you do the daily stand-up. If I am stuck on something, somebody else has a skill they can step in. If I said, I am home, my child is sick, or I am not feeling well, but I have this deadline, I say that in the meeting, in the daily stand-up meeting, and that's my bottleneck, that's my third question, where am I stuck? Somebody else can say, hey, Doreen, I hear you. I'm going to finish that task for you, right? Transparency. Because you're all sharing what you're doing and you're in this sprint together, it's very transparent what everybody's working on. And this is something that happens to me in teams that I've been on. There's a deadline on Wednesday, but if you don't ask about the deadline, that person's like, well, nobody asked me about the deadline. I guess nobody wants that content. I'll just wait till Friday. And then by Friday, somebody's really frustrated. Said, well, the deadline was Wednesday. Why didn't you give me the video? Well, nobody asked me for it. The transparency of having the daily meetings, those daily check-ins, are really, really important. Next one, prioritization. Because you have all the tasks in the backlog, but then you do a sprint where you pick the 3 top things that you need to get done, you prioritize the things that are most important. And when you have a big marketing team, like Now Marketing, you might have 4 sprints going on. You might have teams of 3 working on 4 different sprints. Adaptability. We are quick. Agile marketing means you can adapt when trends happen, when things happen in the world, when things happen within your company. You can adapt, right? Measurability. Everything is measurable when everybody is transparent about what they're doing, and then putting the content out and getting feedback. That's so valuable. Customer satisfaction. I started implementing Agile 2 years ago. I have never been this busy. I have people coming to me and going, I want to work with you. My question to you today is, which team would you like to be on? You guys rocked it. I know that we're waiting for the next speaker. Kim is up next. I just want to thank you all. Agile marketing is my passion. I'm here to tell you, I'm going to tell everybody else, this is it. I found the framework that I want to use. Hopefully I inspired you to think about a different way to market, a different way to create content, to co-create together. If you want to know more, this is my last slide. There's 3 steps that I can recommend. The Agile Fundamental Certification. It teaches you a little bit of what I said today and a lot more about the different frameworks. Then there is a new framework, brand new. It's called the Agile Marketing Navigator. I was one of the people that helped put that together. So taking everything from software, putting it in marketing terms. It's brand new, it's out there. I'm now on the accelerator team that is trying to get case studies and implement this new framework, so it's very exciting. And then, of course, if you are ready to do this, there's Agile Marketing Certification through IC Agile, which is the International Consortium of Agile, and you get your whole team certified. So I thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for letting me talk to you about Agile, and have a fantastic day, everybody.